Oh, well,
Yeah.
wait a minute. I don't know why I got. Oh, I know what the problem is. All right. Still weeping. I don't know why you got this shadow on your face.
Honey, is
No, 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 no. That
very
was in
good.
the way.
Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna leave that on there because we're talking marriage. We're talking about people trying to get along with each
People
other.
trying to get along
And
with each other.
I got the perfect person to have this conversation with. I guess you'd have to be my favorite person in the world.
No.
I guess you have to be, or something's wrong.
What?
Maybe something's wrong with me.
Well,
You'd have to be.
thank you.
Yes. This is Tamika Bolton. This is Mrs. Bolton. This is my wife. And you are a, what is your profession?
A nurse.
How long?
Yay.
How long have you been a nurse?
30, 30 plus years. 30 plus years. I've
Okay.
been a
Now
nurse.
you have the unique distinction of always working in your field your entire life. Like right out of high school, you were a nursing assistant, and
Yes.
then you were
I actually was a nursing assistant in school because back then in the ancient Midlothian times, when I became a nurse, you actually could train to do um, you if your grades were good enough, you could go to a place called the Career Center in Gary, Indiana, and you would train, do a profession. So what I did was I became a CNA. I saw my mother always doing this, and that's all I knew. And I told her that I would one day become a nurse. So I became a CNA right literally while I was in high school.
Hmm. So like when you say while you were in high school, junior year, senior year.
So in our junior year, we were able to go to this place called the Career Center half a day. Of course, as long as we kept our grades up. And then by the time we graduated from high school, we had our little certificate. So I had my nursing assistant certificate right out of high school.
How long were you a nurse's assistant?
Um, 10 years. About 10 years, I was a nursing assistant.
What made you want to up the game to nurse?
My children, um, really my children, trying to make sure that I wanted them to go farther, so I didn't want to go further. But so I didn't want to tell them to be doing something that I didn't do. Um, and I know that doesn't have to be. It's just that that's what. And I always wanted to be a nurse, and I promised my mother I would become a nurse. I promised her that, and so I wanted to fulfill that promise for her also.
So what was it about? Because you've always taken care of people. Like, that means from the time you were a teenager to 30 years, you've taken care of people. Why? I mean, is it just what you were made to do? Is it what you had an interest in?
I believe that when to be taking care of people as long as I did, it honestly has to be God calling you because I'm gonna be honest, I gave up a lot of time. So this universe wanted me, and I give up daily. Like I'm not gonna be a nurse anymore. I mean, I give up
No,
daily.
no, the special forces, the Navy SEALs
Uh,
have a saying. They say, well, how do you get through that grueling training? And they were talking to a particular Navy SEAL, and he said this. He said, they said, how do you not quit, through that? And he said, I did. He said, I quit every day.
I
He
do.
said, the key is you always tell yourself, I'll quit tomorrow.
Right, right.
So, you're like, so it's funny when you said that. You're like, dude, I quit every day.
Every
And
day.
then you're like, but 30 years in the game,
I say I'll just sleep on it. I'll sleep on it every day. I'm not going in, but let me take a nap on it, and then I'm like,
I don't think
it
I don't think people understand the stress, the real stress that goes into nursing. Like one, you if you are a caring person, you're forming some type of relationship with this person. And you worked in hospice, so you were coming into some situations where you knew I'm going to lose this person, and I'm building a relationship with their family, and so we'll lose a relative or a relationship at different points of our life as to where it's a multiple daily thing, yearly, monthly thing for a nurse.
Well, I think every time you want to quit, something brings you back. Like Dr. Bolton's grandmother, we had the pleasure of taking care of her for years. And even though it was difficult taking care of people all day at work and then coming home, it made me see the opposite side. It kind of refreshed me for nursing because it made me see the actual side of being the personal, the what am I trying to say?
The family.
The family.
Right.
To be, I was on the other side, and so seeing how important, because even though we all took care of our grandmother, we had a beautiful caregiver named Shara, if you're out there. Man, she was awesome. And the days she couldn't make it, man, she was patient, she was kind. And even if she switched hospice companies, whatever she did, she always made sure she took care of our grandmother. And so seeing how important a caregiver is to the family refreshed me and brought me back. It's important.
Let's keep it real. Grandmama had an RN. She had a nurse practitioner. She had a caregiver. But the person that really ran everything was you.
That's my grandmama now.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. We had the staff there, but
we all did.
And but you were the leader. Everybody, hey, what do we do? What do we do? And you were super in that situation. But that was just something, like, I always could play sports, and I could look at a sport and just figure out, okay, well, that's how you do it, and I could just do it. I saw it, I could do it. I see you being that way with medicine, medical, and caring for things. You intuit things that people generally have to learn. It just comes to you. I've known you. I didn't know you your entire CNA career, but I definitely knew you your entire nursing.
Yeah.
And you're not just caring in that way. It's obviously nursing has traditionally been a female-laden profession, and now that we have entered into eldership, you're not just a senior nurse, but you're also an elder in the female community, and you mentor a lot of women. And that brings us around to the conversation that we had yesterday that is the point of this particular show or discussion, is the importance of marriage, the questions and the historical framework that has affected our community in marriage, the perspectives, misunderstandings, and needs for people to even understand what marriage is, to find out the value of it. Because I honestly think most people don't even know what marriage is.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to a young lady the other night about, and it was actually one of my clients, about how as little girls we're given, the little girls play with the little Barbies and the Cinderella books and the Sleeping Beauty, and the prince is gonna kiss you, and you're gonna wake up, and he's just gonna be perfect, you know.
Well, you had
Yeah, yeah. I was
me.
given. Yes, I woke up in the
The
20
perfect prince.
We'll get to that later, but uh, you know what? In this life, it's not about who's perfect; it's about who's perfect for you, and that's the truth. But we feed into this thing that, oh my gosh, marriage is this man who comes in, sweeps you off your feet, buys you roses every day, and that's what life is going to be. But you know, it's work. It's work every day, and people don't understand that. And marriage is it's a partnership that you go into, that you just decide we're not, this is it. It's just like if you had a millionaire friend and your millionaire friend could bring you up and you all together can make this company that would be $1 billion. You're gonna get mad at the friend, but are you gonna just quit on it? No. You're gonna take some time in the corner and work at it. And so, but now my husband, I come from a family where a lot of marriages are broken. So I didn't understand it. So when I met my husband, he comes from a family where marriages are 50 and 60. How long have your parents been married?
It will be wow. And it's the 28th. The day after tomorrow, my parents will be married 57 years.
57 years. And don't get me wrong, my parents have been married 40 years. But he comes from a family where the grandparents, okay, and it just generation after generation, people have been married for years to death. And so he taught me a lot about that and what it means. So
my when somebody asks me after my decades of marriage, when I'm talking to somebody about marriage, I have found my best definition, and you tell me if this is accurate. The best definition of marriage that I have heard is show me the worst of you, and I'm still not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean that's the truth, because we were having this one, a hot mess. We were having a conversation about people coming into or just coming into dating with, they got the eyelashes on and they got the makeup and they got the this and they got the that, and putting literally their best face on for people. And it's almost like sometimes you wish people would come in at the worst. Like, sure.
I don't want to be misunderstood in that. Yes, I don't want to see your worst every minute and every second I'm with you.
Right.
But I also want to see you.
Yeah.
And the conversation that I have about marriage within our community is a much different conversation than most people have.
Mm-hmm.
I give the historical framework and a statistical analysis of outcomes and concerns based on those outcomes, not this attitude is that, and these people need to do this. And I'm saying this is the problem.
Right.
This is the problem right here. If we can agree that this problem is the problem, then all of the, well, she said this and she needs to do that and he don't do this and black men do that, and what, all of that goes out of the window.
Yeah.
Because if we can see that we all have a common concern based on the framework of marriage in the black community,
yes,
then it's not about any accusatory behavior. It's about noticing it's a problem and doing what we need to do to fix it. So when I say show me your worst, it's because I've heard everybody can deal with the good. I can deal, I can deal with you when you up. So that's not part of my conversation of what marriage is. I can deal with you when you being nice to me. That's not what I can deal with you when you got money. I can deal with you when you doing. I can deal with you when you're healthy. I can deal with you when you're young. What about when you're old? Yeah. You know, that's what I'm. Yes, the good part is given. That's why we together.
But that's the issue, and that it goes back to what I'm saying about this fairy tale and this fallacy. Nobody wants to face the truth. Like a lot of women don't want to face the truth about some things that the parts that they play in their failed relationship. It's just easier to say, well, he was this, or he didn't have enough money, and he was that, you know. But I think one of the big people are gatekeeping. I try as an elder Black female, when I meet women in their 40s, and they're saying, oh, I can't get married, I can't catch, and then I'm asking, what part do you play? Because we always want to, well, it ain't enough men. They always with white women, or this, that, and the other, and all these different things. And it's like, okay, there's no way.
Every day.
There's no way you're 40-something years old and can't catch nobody. A lot of times we attract what we are, right? So work on you.
That's the deal.
So let's just go with this. I had the pleasure when I met my husband of going to a women's retreat with this lady. Everybody thought she was a little bit crazy. But I went, and she was coaching us on different things. So she sat down with me and she said, okay, I want you to write everything that you want in a husband.
This was before or after?
This was before.
Oh, well,
you know this.
I know, but you said when
No, before, because I was going through.
Right.
Now I was quite younger, but I was going through this whole thing that people say, oh, I need a husband, different things. But I wanted a family. I wanted a full family. I wanted that for myself. So, and had failed relationships, right? So she's telling us now, I want you all to write this thing down. What kind of man you want? So I'm writing a good man, a driven man, and she came by and ripped my paper up. I thought the lady was crazy. She was like, what is a good man? What does that mean? And I said, well, a good man. She was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, if I was a wish maker trying to make you a wish and you talking about a good man, how do I know? So she told me to be very honest. She said, be honest from everything that you would want. I thought it was being crazy to say I wanted a man with muscles. Why would you say that? She said, is that what you want? I said, yeah. I felt bad for saying a man with no children. Is that what you want? Yeah. She said, first you got to get honest with yourself. But she said, let me tell you what you need to do. After you get honest with yourself and you write all this down, we buried it in a time capsule and all of that. Now you go to your house and you become also what you want him to be. You say you want somebody fit, you get fit. You say you want somebody driven. What you're driving, that's what another reason why I decided to become a nurse. Because how am I wanting somebody that's got drive and I don't have no drive? How am I wanting somebody that's mind is in a certain way and I'm not thinking that way? Because one of the things I put on my list, I wanted somebody educated. I wanted somebody that was good with children, somebody that was calming. Whatever I wrote, I tried to become that person. I'm not saying I made it 100%, but I definitely know the universe saw me trying. And when I tell you, when I met my husband, even though I'm telling you, it wasn't like we were dating or anything, but I saw him and I told my mother on the first day I met my husband. Now, mind you, we weren't even dating, but there was just certain things that he said and certain values, and he just talked about right off the bat the way he loves and takes care of his family. I knew that was him. And it wasn't even this romantic thing. It wasn't even this, ooh, because he was fine. He was. Back then, I'm just kidding.
That's a long time ago.
No, seriously.
Keep it a buck.
Seriously.
But you're old now.
I'm still attracted to you. He's still cute.
But
the point is, become who you want. Don't just decide to put that all on the partner. That's woman or man.
But be proud of who you are.
That's true too.
You can't love somebody when you don't love you.
There
now
you
go,
go.
oh, I love me. I love me. I miss. Okay. Eyelashes,
Mm-hmm.
little makeup,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Even if you want a wig, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nails, cool. If you want to take the Ozempic shot, lose a little weight, cool. But now think about this, because I was looking. Somebody asked me to. Somebody asked me to go on their podcast. So I'm a researcher. I research their podcast. So I'm going through the podcast topics. I'm looking at it, and one of the topics they had was what happens. There's 40-year-old women talking about this. Why do men ghost women? It was a good question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there thinking, and I think the most likely reason, because this has to be prevalent for them to have the emotion behind the conversation that they were having. This is something that happens regularly. I'm out of the game. I don't know nothing about ghosting a lot, right? So I don't know that, but my mind is working, and I'm looking at this. Now all those things I mentioned: eyelashes, makeup, wig, fingernails, Ozempic. Now the thing with Ozempic is you lose weight. If you stop taking that suppresses your appetite, you gain the weight back fast. We have Brazilian butt jobs, boob jobs. You can meet a woman with makeup on so thick, hair covering her hair, eyelashes on, nails. She's decreased her weight. She got a body shaper on. She got the Brazilian butt. I have no idea what you look like. That's like me going to a costume place and covering everything up and going out on a date with you. What type of problem do I have that I don't want you to meet me to that extent?
I agree.
And then when I finally shed this stuff, I might get ghosted. Why? Because that's not who I'm at.
Yeah.
So I think that probably has a lot to do with it, because another thing I saw was this thing about hair.
Mm-hmm.
It was a show that some young people were watching at the university, and I just happened to be by. And the man said it was a row of black women, so he wanted to date black women.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I would rather date. They said, well, why wouldn't you date this person? He said, I would rather date somebody with longer hair.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else got mad in the line. All of the black women got mad.
Uh-huh.
Now, he was saying, that's what I'm choosing. Now, these women are so culturally shocked on hair still. Because it happened to black men. Remember the comp when everybody had, when they had the hair slicked back, and then we had the curls and all. Brothers then got over the European influence of us hating ourselves through our hair. Black women have not. So they got the wigs of a culture that traditionally don't have hair like us, but black folks got all kind of hair. And these women took it to mean, because he said he likes long hair, that was a slight against black women. We got all kinds of hair. All of the hair that you see on earth, people of African descent have that type of hair.
And at the end of the day, it really, and now when I did say you have to become the person that you want, I didn't mean that you have to take away from yourself. Now, that's one thing when I met, and surprisingly enough, I have talked to, I know a lot of times women think that, black men don't date they want women to have all this week. Well, then that's not the man for you. Just plain and simple. That's not the man for you. I'm not gonna get mad about anything that somebody else wants. This is who I am. I wasn't born with silky straight down my back. I went through a period of that, and my husband would always tell me, "Please, stop. You're in the hairdresser for 40 hours. You doing this, you doing that. Just stop." You know, if the person doesn't like you for who you are, then that's not the person for you. Because at the end of the day,
here's my problem. If you don't like
that's
me,
what I'm saying.
No, not the person.
Yeah.
You're the one putting this hair on. You're the one putting all this makeup. I'm not talking a little lip rouge, maybe a little eyeliner or something. I'm talking the Tamar Braxton, the concealer, the foundation, the little light down the nose, the tip, and this stuff. They look like drag queens. It's you to cut your eyebrows all the way off to draw them back on.
But that's like I said, we've come to that where.
So what?
And it could be.
How much do you dislike yourself?
We're not. Let me disclaimer. Everybody that does that is not doing it for somebody else. They might be doing it because they enjoy doing it. If you're doing it to catch somebody.
No. I'm saying, examine why is what God made me something I want to hide. Yeah. I'm not saying all of these things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying one of these things. Like if you got on lipstick, or if you have on a wig, or if you have. When I do all of that.
Well, I think I'm going to give you an example. And so I do know people who can go back and forth. They can have their regular stuff. They can have it. That's fine. But we had hired a wonderful nurse one time. She was a great, great lady. And so I was the assistant director of nursing at this time. And the girl didn't come to work. Now she did. She wore a 40-inch bust down every day to work. Boom, parts down, sit on it, wrap it up to work type of a hair. And that's fine. It was beautiful on her. But the day that she called off 2 days in a row, and I called her house, and she told me, just like I was supposed to agree with it, that she called off, honestly, because she was waiting on her bundles to come. I think that's when it changed my life about not being able to go out without this type of hair or the perms or whatever. It changed my life about that. But
in all of that, that's not what I see as being the social problem as to where marriage is necessary or not necessary.
Yeah.
Statistically, 3 out of every 4 Black women are going their entire lives without being married. Now, what does that mean to me as an elder in my community? That means these women are left unprotected. When you get sick, when you lose a child, when your talents run out, like, okay, I'm good at X. I can do this. And you can do Y. So I'm able to lean on you when it's a Y situation, but when it's X, I'm good. Well, if I don't have you, what do I do when it's a Y situation? Nobody is perfect. So that majority of our women are being left unprotected. Now, we have, and there is the historical framework as to why this happened, and it has become a cultural dynamic. Whereas Black women are told, get your education, get your job, get your money, and do all of this stuff. Well, that's going to be it's effective as long as you're working. When you retire, your degrees don't mean anything. When you uh, when you retire, your job title doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 5'2" and need something off of the top shelf and don't have a husband to come and grab it for you, that's problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is that a black woman problem? Because black men are still getting married in the upper 80th percentile.
Mm-hmm.
We're covered. And who's looking out for my sisters, my aunts, my grandmothers, my daughters, my cousins? Who's looking out for these women?
Well, this is, and he's the history person, but sometimes from experience, I can just remember things. I remember at a point in our life, around the 80s, when I remember as a child, some of the things that have broke up the black family. I think people need to educate themselves so much on why. So if you know the statistics, if you know that black men are getting married still to whatever, it could be white women, Chinese women, whatever, they're getting married, but black women are getting married. Okay. So he broke down the statistics. I've heard so many black women, they don't know the statistics, but they know that this is happening, right? But then the one thing that, so how they soothe themselves is saying, you don't need a man anyway. That's the lie I was fed all my life. You don't really need a man. Yeah. I think everybody needs somebody. I see what happens in working in the hospitals and the nursing homes and everybody when you don't have somebody. Now, I'm not saying that you're just going to be a failure if you don't have somebody. Things happen. But it's good to have a mate. We need to stop believing that having a mate is bad. Oh, you don't need nobody. You're going to be okay by yourself. That is something that's just being driven into young girls' minds.
We are a marrying community.
Yeah.
We got married during slavery.
Yes.
We got married when it was illegal to. We fought to be together.
To be married, yeah. To be together.
They couldn't break us with slavery. They couldn't break us with Jim Crow. In Jim Crow, it was the black family, it was the black businesses that funded the Southern Civil Rights Movement. Yeah. It was not until the 1970s with Nixon and then reinforced by Reagan in 1980 with the war on drugs. They could not get us social. They could not get us separated economically, but they could get us chemically. Yeah. And when they got us chemically dependent, because all these drugs are coming into the country, ain't no black folks got planes, trains. Everybody has seen Boys in the Hood, you know, the story Lawrence Fishburne gave. But also, we don't have jobs at customs. We don't have the mechanisms to get it into the inner cities of the United States. All drugs come in coastal, right? Because the best drugs grow in not in the United States, right? Except for weed that grows in Cali. So all of this stuff has trafficked throughout the nation into these particular communities, obviously on purpose. And then we come up with a legal ramification to incarcerate the people, not the people that's bringing it, not the people that's buying it and bringing it into the country, not the people that's transporting it, the people that's using it and getting caught with it. And then we take them and then we put them in jail. Everybody has seen 13th and Red, the Netflix special 13 and Red, the new Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, to see what happened with the war on drugs. And everybody said, oh, we're sorry. But what happened? When they took all of those black men and incarcerated them for so long, our black women had to become leaders in society. Now, if we rewind back, right at the same time, affirmative action was hitting in the late 60s, where two things happened: affirmative action and the Philadelphia Plan under Nixon. Nixon forced American unions to allow black men to join unions because we still don't want women in it, but we don't let the men do it. Now Nixon was racist as all get out, but Nixon felt he thought black folks just weren't smart enough to do well. He thought it was disingenuous for the United States to put laws in place where black men had legal hurdles. And the Philadelphia plan was where he said, okay, if you're not letting black folks into the union, you don't get any government contracts. So they started letting black folks into the union. Affirmative action came up and they said, we're going to let black folks into school. So what happened? Black men took jobs. Black women went to college. Well, college turned into careers. So you had people with careers versus people with jobs, right? So now what did that do with the wealth gap in our community, right? So now we got men here because we have jobs, but we're paying for our wives to go to school, so everything's cool. We ain't fell out yet. Then the war on drug hits. Now I'm taken and I'm incarcerated. You now become the head of the household, and now you become more productive. I come back out of jail now. Now our wealth gap is, and now we got to put in hypergamy. In this country, not just in our culture, but we're also Americans, not just black people in America. Women seek to marry up, right? Well, you can do that in every other culture in this country because they haven't had the specific dynamics that black people have had. And everyone has said that was related to the war on drugs, either conservative or liberal, that yes, the war on drugs disproportionately hurt the black community. So now we have this wealth gap that's been created between black men and black women, and we have still black women with this idea of hypergamy. I am I'm ahead on the wealth gap. So I'm looking for somebody that's making six figures, okay? 9% of black men make six figures. So we have half of our population of women competing to date 9% of our men. So when they say it's no good men out there, no, it's no good men numerically because of who I'm shooting for.
They're saying no good men, and that's the problem. When you equate a good man to somebody who has to have, make $500,000 a year, then you that's all you're looking for. But going back to, like, I know that you take a lot of stuff with the war on drugs and women making more money and this and that, but you can go even lower than that for some people who don't really even necessarily understand that. But let's talk about the welfare system. Now, I was a part of the 80s where I remember a time when what they did, they would put black women on welfare, right? They want unmarried black women on welfare, or women who were in jail, women who had their men in jail, because you can go even lower than that.
If you take the men out of the home and incarcerate them, the women have to make ends meet.
So they would put the black women, okay, you guys get on welfare, but guess what? You can't have nobody male come in your house, right? And they made sure of it by doing monthly, weekly, whenever they wanted to, they could pop up. My mother was on welfare. I remember I don't remember a lot from my childhood, I swear, but I remember people popping up, doing inspections in our home to make sure what kind of mess was that?
And do you know
you come in that house, and so now, okay, when I'm mad at my boyfriend, man, whoever, potential husband, I'm thinking, well, having you in my house decreases what? Because for some reason you get these people locked into the welfare system and food stamps and stuff like that, and their mind goes to, I need my food stamps, I need my this, and I saw people get rid of men because they felt like, you're going to hurt my food stamps, you're going to hurt my benefits. once they broke us up as a black family, broke potential people from coming in to marry, okay, because now you don't want nobody there. They stopped.
But
once the numbers were like
yeah,
that,
but
they stopped doing
here's the problem. Those weren't just regulations for black people.
Mm-hmm.
Those are regulations for anybody on welfare.
Mm-hmm.
The trick was
Mm-hmm.
they only enforced it like that
Yes.
in the black community.
Yes. It was enforced.
So when they said, oh, well, the same thing happened to white people.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. Because during the war on drugs, statistically, the CIA, FBI, all the crime people, Reed, Michelle Alexander's, the new Jim Crow, statistically, there are more drugs found per square mile on an Ivy League college campus than it is in an inner city.
Right. They didn't even afford them. They can't afford the drugs.
But and law enforcement knew that.
Yeah.
But where did they police? So when they're having these conversations on the internet with people who have no information, well, they're not just arresting these black people with for no reason. Like, they have to be doing something wrong. Yes, but I'm going to arrest more black people if I do not police the white area. Think about it. We are 12% of the population. It is hard to even find black people. I believe I read some statistic that said 64% of white people have no black friends. Not because they're racist.
They're not.
I live in Montana. I live in Idaho. I live in Wyoming. I live in Washington.
Just from us,
Alaska.
Listen, just from us traveling, we have lived a lot of different places, and we have even lived in places where we were the only 4 black people. Okay, the only 4. And people hadn't seen black people for miles. They were so interested, like, wow.
We walk in the school and they would say, oh, you are Child Tracy and Ariana's parents.
And I'm going to tell you.
But they were the only black kids.
I'm going to tell you. The sad part is where we're from, which is like an island, Gary, Indiana, like an island where all the black people are plopped. You see more police officers. The neighborhood I live in now, I can barely see a police. All these houses could be full of drugs. Nobody would know because you barely see the police. We lived in an area of Mansfield where you didn't see a lot of black people. Barely seen the police. So you're going to tell me that there's not any possible suspicion of people doing drugs in this area? Because I'm going to tell you that it's all up in the schools. The finest of schools.
Well, drugs would not be making money if the majority of people wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But that being said, I don't want to get us too far away from marriage. But these are the dynamics that played a role
in
the separation economically, the separation physically, and then it became culturally. Because now we're rearing our daughters with this mindset of you got to be able to pay the bills, take care of yourself. And so they're using their most attractive years because men have a completely different dynamic of being suited than women do. Women are attracted to resources and power. You can say it's not true. It is what it is. You see these rich old men with these young women. Just ride with it. Men are attracted what they see. Okay. You are most marketable the younger you are. That's when we looked our best. If you spend that time thinking, I don't have to invest in this relationship or take this seriously because I got better things to do, it'll be another guy coming along. Well, they're coming along because you're young and good looking. As time goes by, you're not the young, good-looking one. The young, good-looking one is the young, good-looking one, and you're not as competitive. Guys, as they get older, they get more resources. That's generally,
Mhm.
and they get more influence, power, if you will, which makes us more attractive, even though we're older. You're going to actually generally accumulate more as you get older.
Well, okay, so and I hear what you said because I've heard what you said before about this being young and good looking. Now, what I will say, I watch a lot of what are the movies, the ones that I watch a lot of, the ones back in the day, mythical, not mythical, period pieces. Okay, so I do a lot of looking at marriage, uh, way back in the day, even in the 1800s, the way that, and I'm going to tell you the truth, some people may disagree with me. I almost wish we can go back to a day when people that knew you picked a mate for you. Again, we got away from what marriage really is, and we started getting into this fairy tale of marriage. If when you're picking, perfect example, when the lady told me to write down everything about what I wanted from my husband, it was almost like choosing a specific person. People didn't choose your husband for you. Emotions come, love, romance, lust, those are emotions. They're fleeting. They come, they go.
Yeah.
1 minute you, oh, he just,
Love,
oh my God. I mean,
love
I
has
have been,
wait. Love has very little to do with marriage. Love is just an
and
emotion.
people don't like to
It's,
hear
they
that.
don't want to hear that. No. It's
Yeah.
different. No, I'm telling you, you don't feel any emotion all the time. You're not always mad. You're not always scared. You're not always sad. You're not always happy. You're not always curious. Everything comes and goes.
Mhm.
That's why you have to understand what is significant in picking that person.
Mhm.
For men, I can't speak for women because I'm not one. When you find somebody that makes you a better version of you, you will keep them out of your selfishness to maintain who you are. Before I met her, I didn't have any businesses. I didn't have any degrees. No, I had
You
two
had
degrees.
Yeah.
I had 2 degrees,
Right.
but I didn't have the degrees that I have now. I got 2 more. Um, I did not live in the places that I live. I didn't have the assets that I have, and I wasn't looked at in the community as I'm looked at now. I'm looked at as, ooh, that's Dr. Bolton. I like that. Even if I would have done that without you, I didn't. So what I know is once you came, all of these things, and I wasn't a father. I wasn't a husband. Those are my primary identities.
Mhm.
So I need to keep you because I enjoy being, oh, Dr. Bolton's a good husband. I like that. Dr. Bolton's a good father. You made me a father. I like that. So you elevate me, my selfishness is going to keep you there. So you can act a now, here's the thing.
Here he go.
Here's the thing.
Here he go.
You can find the perfect person. Those of you who are biblically inclined, your rib, marriage is difficult then. When you find the person that's made for you, marriage is extremely difficult. So if you don't put the time into finding that person that makes you better, you have a decreased likelihood of making it decades. it's, you know,
Yeah. So, when we first got together, again, I come from a matriarchal family.
matriarchal family, patriarchal.
Right. And so it was very hard for me to be guided. Again, we can guide each other. I can guide him for certain things. But it was very hard to just get and say, this is the head of our household. It was hard because I had never really seen that, right? So it was it was hard. But it becomes a dance. And when you go into a marriage saying, hey, and he told me that we don't do all that divorce, right? So when you go into a marriage saying, I'm going to do this no matter what, and you do understand that the emotions ebb and flow, but there's still a promise that you made, a duty, a promise. Duty. That's why when that judge or priest or whoever stands in front of you and say, forsaking all others, meaning your mama in your ear talking about, girl, you need to forsaking all others, right? Now, I'm not saying staying nothing with somebody ain't right.
That's why you got to do the homework first.
That's why you got to do the homework
first.
That's
why you got to do the homework first.
Okay.
And that's the thing. People are picking, like you said, the lady didn't come to work because of her hair.
Yeah.
People are putting more time in picking what kind of weave they're going to have than who they are going to spend their life with, who they're going to have kids with.
Right.
People are putting more time into where they work. I can go and do everything that this university tells me what to do. But when I come home, I can't do what my wife asked me to do because I'm whatever, and the hobbies that I have, if I can have patience with this hobby, building a car, building a motor, doing whatever, I can have patience with that car. I can have patience with my kids. If I can have patience developing this business, I can have patience with my marriage. Because if the business is for the marriage, I have to understand the pecking order. And I don't think that people, I know in our women, in our community, our young ladies are not being reared to be wives. They're being reared to be women. And you hear it. I'm a strong Black woman. Okay.
Yeah.
A woman is an individual. And you'll hear people say, I don't want to lose my individuality. Okay. A wife is part of a team.
Yeah.
A husband is part of a team. I can't still be thinking I'm going to be Darnell and all of his splendor when I'm entering into a union that I'm now responsible for 3 other people. I can't move the same way that I did. I have to think about these people first. I'm part of a team and I have a very important role. So when we're not rearing these people to be wives, and the reason why I'm staying on the feminine is because our women, 3 out of 4, are not getting married. They're being reared to be women and they're great at it alone.
Well, because I was listening to somebody the other day say, oh, the one thing that I wouldn't do ever again when I got married is just sweep myself up into my husband and not have a life. Well, I'm going to tell you, by the time you finish being a mom, sometimes grandmom and wife, that's all you got time for. I don't necessarily, now, my husband has a million hobbies, okay? So he is good. I have things that I do. I'm not trying to say. But when it comes down to it, we have a partnership so tight that I don't feel like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to get swept up. I have to get swept up into his life. It's not losing myself. It's a partnership.
It's creating an entire new self. My parents are
That's what it
inseparable.
is. Yeah.
My parents have been together since they were teenagers,
Yeah.
and they're 75 now. It's you accept. I lose the right to be an individual. That's when you accept the right to be an individual, you're accepting the right to lose that right to be an individual. Guess what is not a problem? Infidelity.
Right.
I don't belong with this person.
Right.
I belong with this person. But if I'm an individual,
Forsaking all
you know,
others,
so you know, but
that
that's
people don't.
I don't think
Mhm.
that people are ready for weddings. They put more time in the wedding
Oh yeah.
than they do the marriage.
Yep.
They get up there and they say every marriage say just about the same thing. And when worse comes,
Oh yeah, they gone.
50% of American marriages, 50%
They gone.
gone. And I'm like, this is the worst. And because that happens, we don't have that structure because 3 out of 4 are not getting married.
Mhm.
We don't have these elder women who have been married that tells you how to get through
Yeah.
a husband with a drug problem, how to get through domestic violence, how to get through spending up all the money, how to get through a drinking problem. Now,
Mhm.
people are going to say, oh, well, if it's domestic violence, you ain't supposed to stay. Look, you're not going to be with somebody for 50 years. And at some point,
A spoon ain't throwing.
somebody don't get mad enough that the other one needs to see some hands. Now, I've never put my hands on Tamika. Don't plan on it. But I'm saying we have to be, we talking marriage now. We're talking two individuals that are going through everything
Like I said,
together.
it's
And
that-
guess what's part of everything? Rage. So yeah, somebody might put hands on you, and guess what? You probably gonna put hands on somebody. And then you all are gonna have to say, how do we work this
How do we
out?
work this out?
And how does this never happen
and,
again?
And how does this never happen again? We are not condoning domestic violence. Don't. But
No, but there were
It's-
generations of mothers,
Yeah,
grandmothers
I'm
to
just
tell you, no, this happened
that's
with us.
that's the issue.
And this is how, because
Nobody to tell you.
when you get 75 and you lose your child, you're gonna want that person, the other person whose child that is, to go, man. Because I saw it happen. I saw it happen with my parents. And my parents at the time, they were married over 50 years. And my father said that when they lost my brother, they got closer. Now I'm thinking, how closer can you get? 50 years? But these are the things that
Yeah.
we don't even fathom. But when
Right.
you have that, I have many people I can call that have been married 30, 40,
But so
50
many people
years.
don't, and that's the issue.
And that's the problem.
But that's where people who are necessarily not your family come in. I don't let just everybody in my life, but every once in a while I'll find somebody that I see really good potential in, and I'll mentor. They might call me auntie, whatever they want to call me, but I try to mentor them because I see what they're trying to do. But and I hear what they're trying to do, but they have nobody. Their moms were young moms, didn't get married. They don't understand marriage. A lot of even grandmoms didn't get married. So they're seeing this, but I know what they want.
Mhm.
Another thing I want to touch on is a lot of people say, I'm going to take the Clintons. Again, I'm not. He knows the information. I'm just coming with the story. A lot of people say, oh, black men are this and black women are this, and as if to say the European race. And because right now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm worried about my black people getting and staying married. So excuse me, anybody who doesn't understand, what I'm saying. So you have a lot of people who act as if white people don't go through things, right? I'm gonna tell you the one thing I have seen in white people that I need to get back with our brothers and sisters. Those jokers, marriage for them is a partnership. They ain't going down till they go down. Take the Clintons. What's Miss Clinton's name?
Hillary.
Hillary Clinton. Did she divorce Bill when they were saying he was under the round table with the Nancy lady? No, because it's a partnership. It's something we said we were going to do this and we're going to do it. They have issues too. Don't think they don't. They handle it different. Again, we got our black folks talking about, girl, if he'd have done that to me, I'd have left him. Ma'am, they decided a long time ago it was something they were going to do.
In the bottom,
and they
the
did.
bottom
You know,
line
I'm
is,
just saying. Does that make sense?
women, if you don't know your man,
Mhm.
you messed up.
Mm-hmm.
There is, you do things that make me mad. You don't do things to surprise me. I know you. So there is nothing you can do that's going to make me leave. And when other people, I don't think you have to go. I don't think it's, I sure don't think it's a Caucasian thing.
No,
But-
I'm saying
but,
a lot of times.
When people see a marriage functioning the way it's supposed to function, it's so foreign to them
Yeah.
that, you know, again, the individual mind is, if he did that to me, thus and so forth.
Yeah. You don't
We
know.
have, it should be, we have this problem. How are we going to work this out? That, you know, and when I asked my father, I think it had it around 52nd or 53rd anniversary. I said, Dad, because I know who he's married to. And I'm like, how did you stay married this long? And you know, he kind of joked it off, and you know, I said, no. I really want to know, how did you do this?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay, all seriousness, you have to remember that the institution is bigger than the sum of its parts.
There you go.
And when what we're hearing, especially from people who are not married or people who subscribe to divorce or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
when the going gets tough, I become an individual again.
I'm getting going.
I go from being a wife to an individual. I go from being a husband to being an individual. And the reason why I keep going to the wives is because women initiate 80% of the divorces in our country.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that men don't mess up.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Men
are willing to ride it out statistically more than women.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm seeing this historical framework, I'm seeing the cultural framework, I'm seeing the divorce dynamics, and it's ending with my women being left alone.
And
you can't tell them. Right. I was talking to a young lady that works with me at the university, and she told me, I don't care what you tell me, nothing is going to change my mind about the state of Black women. And I said, that is why we can't fix it.
Yeah.
Because you're saying in your 30 years on earth, you'd have figured out all of the dynamics. No historical framework is going to influence your thought that Black women's problem is Black men don't treat them right. Any statistics, none of this, any cultural dynamics, nothing you can be told is going to change your perception that Black women's problem is Black men not treating them well. This problem will not fix it. This problem will not be fixed.
And that's what I'm saying when I say we have to be very honest. We have to be honest that when we raise our sons, or even if you're a single mom, are you as a woman raising your son not to be your husband figure, because that's not what I'm saying, to treat women right. I see so many moms just babying their sons and doing everything for them, and then you can't figure out why they out here expecting some woman to do everything for them.
Just because you can do something by yourself doesn't mean
it's good. Yeah.
There is a reason.
Mhm.
That it kills me when people are talking about this what is the court case that decided abortion?
Roe v. Wade.
Roe v. Wade.
Mm-hmm.
It's a woman's decision. No, it's not.
Do we want to get into all of this?
It doesn't. No, because what I'm saying is a woman cannot make a baby by herself. She can't. It is impossible. She can carry it, but she cannot make it. So that empowering the woman 100% means that the woman can decide if she becomes a parent or not, but a man cannot decide if he becomes a parent or not. But he is legally responsible based on whatever she decides. That being one thing.
So do you think right here? So if they both come in and make the decision, it's okay. So you would want to see a situation where they're both coming and making that decision.
I don't want to get too far off. But what I say is, if a woman gets to choose, if a man becomes a father, he should get to choose if he pays child support. If I say I don't want to, see, she can say I don't want to be a parent. He can say I do want to be a parent. You don't get to be a parent because I make the choice, right? But if he says I don't want to be a parent and you say I do want to be a parent, he has to pay child support for 18 years. If you want to be a parent and he doesn't, I don't have to pay child support. Now that's just me, but again, I don't want to get too far.
We don't want to get.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far. That is a definite
or another
legal discussion that.
We gotta.
Yeah.
But getting back into marriage.
Yeah, the biggest thing is, if there is a blame game. Distracting from our women are being left alone, we'll never fix the fact that our women are left alone.
And I think that for women, and again, I'm just talking about women, we have to be super intentional on what we're trying to do. The problem is there's no real intent. Like I was telling you, back in the day when you got married, you were groomed to be a wife. You were groomed to be married. There's none of that anymore. People are talking about now you don't need a man, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then everybody going to the sperm bank to have babies and ain't no daddies. We could get into that too. But that's what I'm saying. We've got to get back to the state where we want family.
We're not going to get back. We're not going to get back to anything.
But I'm talking about women.
No, I'm saying we're not going to go back. We can only go forward.
Well, okay.
And the only thing is, the only people who can fix this is black men.
Okay.
Because it's our absence.
Okay.
That is the problem. Because our women are the primary rearers of the children, right? Now, 3 out of 4 are not getting married. So a lot of our children are only getting the feminine function in a family. You have a man, you have a woman, right? And this goes back to the Roe v. Wade thing. The woman builds womanhood in the daughter. She knows how to be a woman. She teaches them all the tools of being a woman. The father affirms that womanhood in the daughter. Father does all the tools and building of the son
Mhm.
and the mother affirms his manhood. This is what happens when we do it by ourselves. The mother builds this woman, but she's out searching. She's productive as all get out, but she hasn't been affirmed by a man. So she's out dealing with these relationships that's not working, which ultimately leaves her unmarried. You have these men that have been affirmed as men because that's the matriarchal energy, but he hasn't been built into one because there's no man there. So we have these men in societies that's walking around as though they're men, but they're not developing families and playing the role that they need to play. All of this is the absence of the men. So now that's why black men are going to have to be who fix it. The problem is this. We are going to have to figure out how to get this cultural divide so obvious that black women will trust and listen to us again. And then we have to be patient because we have to understand where her distrust is coming from, where her inclinations are coming from. So we can't be like, you know what, I'm gone, or you know what, I'm gonna go cheat, or you know what, I'm gonna do this because she's not respecting me or she's not whatever. We're going to have to be hyper productive because hypergamy is a big part of our community. We're going to have to be disciplinarians. We're going to have to be elevated, and that shouldn't shock us because we got to be twice as good to get half as much and everything else. We're going to have to do that to reestablish our role of trust, to attract that permanent relationship again.
And while I completely agree with you, I still say it's both parties. I just wish I could get, and we talked to our every family members about this, getting black men and black women to trust in one another again, because again, societal has broken up, taking men out by, like you said, mass incarceration.
I understand
the
that.
women, but
not to backtrack, but what I'm saying is, how does that happen? It's not, black women can't fix it. We done had 40 years of this.
They were going to, that kind of contradicts what you said earlier about when you said black women are saying, well, it's not right that black women are saying, oh well, the reason why we're not getting married is because black men aren't treating us right.
They are heavily convinced that the role they have accepted and perpetuated onto the generations is necessary. That man second, career first, because I can't trust you to take care of me. I can't, so they can't fix it. It's been illustrated. You can't fix it. Okay. So it's going to be an elevated degree of productivity and patience. And if we can do that for college degrees, we can do that for raises at work, we can use that to drive Mercedes and do all this other stuff. We as men can do that to restore our communities and families.
But I just agree. The only thing I'm saying about that, I totally agree. But I just believe as a race, we've got to start trusting one another again.
Black women are not going to trust black men until black men show themselves to be trustworthy.
I agree. But if we've lost all faith in you, it's still, even if you come and show yourself, it's still going to be like, it's going to take a while.
So it's going to take a while. First of all, why we have to have the
awareness. But see, I think so many more black couples need to just make awareness of the black family and how important it is, and how they need to know the history behind it. Like what you're saying, we got to learn, we got to study, we got to know why we were broken.
But all
apart.
of that
is purposeful.
None of that information will mean anything until I know that can be me.
Well, how are you going to get? How are you going to get these black men to do that? Because they are convinced.
You know how. That's a good question. That's a good question, bro. Again, that's what I'm saying. It's the black men that got to do it. We have to hold each other accountable. We have to start having mentoring and conversations when we're talking to somebody and the guy is 35 years old talking about cheating on his wife. It's got to be a 50-year-old player.
It's not funny,
dude. Really?
It's not funny.
Of all the problems that the world is going to bring on you, you're going to bring problems on yourself. You're going to bring problems on your wife. You're going to be problems on your. I had that situation. One of my very close friends was cheating on his wife, and I'm sitting there telling him, "Bro, you got a grown daughter. You got a grown son. Bro, you always gonna be my dude, but you hurting yourself. Yeah. This lady has made you better. I knew you before you were married. I know you now. You are about to really crap the bed. Yeah, and it's going to be where that becomes a fashion.
Wow,
with that intellectual men, good men, hardworking men, religious men. All of the men with character and substance are going to have to do more than they yard.
And stop being scared.
I got to cut my neighbor's yard.
Stop being scared. It's to the point where people are always, well, it ain't my business. I ain't going to get into it.
Yep.
That's what's wrong. Do you understand? Yep. Back in the day, that's what we did as a culture. We got in people's business.
But if
we took care of other people's kids.
And share your business.
We shared our business.
Share your business.
You help the other out.
I love my wife. Ain't nothing my wife can do that's going to make me leave. Now, most people, A, don't believe that. B, are going to have some questions. So when you say that, well, what if she cheated on you? Now we can have that conversation as to why that's not a deal breaker. Well, she got to respect me. No, she don't have to, but we definitely going to have a problem until she do. But I'm going, but that is not, and then you explain to them why that is not more important than the union. Because there's so many people connected to our marriage. Right. If we get tired of each other, that hits our kids, that hits our parents, because now our whole family is family. That hits everybody who sees us, friends that don't know successful Black folks, that don't know Black folks that have been married for decades, that don't know Black folks that's been married a long time and still enjoy being together. Right. Every example that we hold, we shatter that. Yeah. Over individualism.
And people don't understand.
But you get the last word. We're gonna wrap it up. You get the last word.
You get to a point in your marriage when you start getting like double digits and stuff. It started getting fun. How many years can we make? How many years can we make? But in the last word, what I want to say really quickly is, when you're choosing a mate, when you're in the dating process, the courting process, actually court.
I was gonna say.
How about actually court your mate? Start seeing if this person, start looking at your marriage like a business. Like it's a business opportunity. Is this person gonna make me better? And do he already have stuff that he's talking about that's draining me? Next.
Is this a CEO or an employee?
There you go. If he already draining you, next. But if you can listen to him and see elevation in this relationship, somebody making you better, those are the people you want to stick with. Okay, he might wear glasses. He might look like a nerd. Look beyond that. I need you to look beyond that.
Look for what I need.
Look for what you need.
Don't look for what you want.
See, look for what you need
can get you to what you want.
You can fix somebody up, change their clothes and bring them up, but you ain't gonna be able to change their mindset for what better. Stop picking for looks, for this, for that. Pick for somebody that's gonna make you better. That's my last words.
Mommy, great job. All right. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And we will be back tomorrow with another class in session.